All right. Good evening, everyone. If we can, I'm just going to turn on all these devices here, and if you can just maybe shoot me a message and just letting me know that you are here, what your name is, where you're from. All right. Good. Delana from Toronto, great. Hello. Let's just wait for a few more minutes, maybe a little bit less than that, just to see everyone tuning in. All right, people are just starting to roll in now. Okay, so I've got, we're live on 3 platforms right now. We are streaming through Click Meetings, through the webinar. We are streaming on Facebook, and I'm also streaming over here on Instagram. So hello to everyone. I'll probably turn off the Instagram soon. That being said, I will tune in here. So you can see the starting slide, and basically, first of all, thank you all for coming, and I'm going to be asking some questions so we can have some interaction through the presentation. And then afterwards, there'll definitely be a Q&A where I'll be able to answer everyone's questions. So if you have any questions, write them down. You can put them in the chat here, and I'll try to address all of them. So tonight, I'm going to be discussing Ganoderma. It is a reishi mushroom extract. It's very medicinal. And there's a company called OrganoGold, and I've recently been introduced to them. And actually, I've been doing my own research with them first to see if I like the product, and I do, and I'm implementing it into my practice amongst many other practitioners and clinicians and just regular people, and they're seeing a lot of benefits. So today I'm going to be talking about the benefits, the history, some of the clinical methods that different practitioners are using it to achieve optimal health for various types of people. And then I'm going to talk about how we can implement it into our lives and how to achieve some weight loss and how to feel better. And then also I'm going to talk about the opportunity as well. So why don't we just start? Again, that's how we are right now. And then I'm going to give you a quick little disclaimer. This information is not meant to diagnose, treat, or cure depression or anything like that. This presentation is meant for education, and it is not meant to take away any medical advice from your practitioners or your doctors or anything like that. So now that I've got that out of the way. So again, we're going to talk about the brief history of Ganoderma. I'm going to be talking about the publications, and then how it's infused, and then again the opportunity. So really quick, some brief history. So picture here is a massive monument, and it's dedicated to the 2 emperors in China, the royal family in the pre-dynastic era, 3000 BC, Emperor Yan and Emperor Huang. And that's a huge, huge, huge monument. So in the next slide, you'll see something that's pretty neat. Right here, they're pictured in a park, and they're holding the medicinal mushroom Ganoderma. So that's the reishi. And part of the royal family, they were actually held exclusively. They only wanted the mushroom to be exclusive for their family. And if you were caught with this medicinal mushroom, they would cut your hand off. Interestingly enough, if they caught you a second time, they would cut off your head. And it just goes to show how powerful this mushroom was and how exclusive it was they wanted for the royal family. In fact, they said it was the fountain of youth, this mushroom. So really interesting, and it's been around for thousands and thousands of years. So really a little history, some Greek and Latin terminology here. Ganoderma derives from the Greek ganos, meaning brightness, derma being skin or shining skin, and the specific epithet lucidum, meaning Latin for shining. So now you kind of have an understanding of what the name came from. In 2004, Time magazine put up a big publication about inflammation, and basically that was kind of like the forefront when people became really aware of inflammation and how it was a driver for all different types of sicknesses and disease. So what is inflammation and what are expressions of inflammation? So I want to talk about that. So basically, from the right of this presentation of the slide, it suppresses your immune system. So it leaves you susceptible to increased risk of cancer, chronic fatigue, different types of autoimmune conditions, fibromyalgia. Going down to skin, inflammation is always expression on the skin. A lot of people who are retaining water, they've got excessive, if they're gaining fat around their midsection, acne, those are all expressions of inflammation, along with cellulite as well. And going about cardiovascular health, inflammation causes stress on the heart. It leaves you susceptible to stroke, heart attack. It increases your blood sugar, increase insulin. That's also a form that causes inflammation. Plus, it puts you at risk at diabetes. And then also it decreases your sexual performance and your energy and your mood and your cognition. It also leaves you susceptible to bone density and bone loss. So that's a big thing. So inflammation can be expressed in all sorts of different ways. And it's a big thing, and it's a big thing that's causing a lot of people's sickness. So we want to reduce our inflammation. And there's a lot of factors that cause that. So we're going to discuss that. So we're going to dive right into blood because it's exciting. Over 100 years ago, heart surgeons knew that if they gave nitroglycerin to patients who had pain in the chest, it would actually alleviate that pain. And they didn't really know what the mechanism was. And they started to research it, and then they found that it was actually nitric oxide. And what nitric oxide does, it is a vasodilator. It expands the blood vessels, which then allows for more oxygen to flow through. So these researchers, when they discovered that it was in fact nitric oxide, they wanted to implement that and put that into a cardiovascular drug. So one of the doctors on the team that was researching this, they decided to look into Chinese medicine, and they found papers on Ganoderma, and they found that Ganoderma actually acted as a vasodilator. It improved nitric oxide. But what they were trying to do is they were trying to extract individual elements of the Ganoderma, and they were unsuccessful. They weren't successful. So they found that it wasn't individual molecules, it was actually the whole mushroom itself. So as the quote here, every time we tried to take something out of the herb, it didn't work as well. So what is nitric oxide? For all you bodybuilders out there, I know I've got some bodybuilders here tuned into Instagram. We want that. We want to experience that pump. It is a vasodilator, so it drives nutrients into the muscles. What's that blue pill right there? That's Viagra. Viagra is it's the same sort of mechanism. It's nitric oxide, so it promotes blood flow. Ganoderma actually promotes blood flow like nitric oxide. So this is and here's the thing. I'm going to be quoting a lot of times from Dr. Robert Rakowski, and he says there's a synergy in nature that can't be duplicated, nor can it be isolated. Putting it simply, that nature provides, and it has all the things that we need if we learn how to use it wisely and correctly, for that matter. So we're going to dive into a lot of sicknesses now, because these are the research studies that I found. And by the way, there's over 2,000 clinical studies all published about Ganoderma research and the findings and the benefits. So we're going to talk about cancer, because really, let's get serious. Who has not been affected by cancer? I know my dad recently passed away from cancer. I'm sure everyone that's tuned in, we all have some loved ones that has been struck in by cancer. So nearly 1 in 2 Canadians are expected to be diagnosed with cancer at least once in their lifetime. From 1988 to 2017, the cancer rates have increased for females 32% and for males 17%. Here's some more striking information. If you look at the diagram here, there's 30% of all deaths are caused by cancer and 19% of disease. But one of the things that I want to discuss is before the age of 55, people fear cancer. And after the age of 55, they actually fear Alzheimer's, which is a neurodegenerative brain disorder. And we're going to talk about how we can help reverse and prevent some of these onset conditions. So again, here's the study. In 2004, a recent study, they tested prostate cancer cells, the ones that spread quite quickly, and they found upon administering Ganoderma, they concluded that the suppression of cell migration was actually minimized. So here's one of the things, like cancer, you can't die from one single cancerous cell. What happens is it's the spreading and the metastasizing of the cancer that causes the death. So really interesting study right there. Another study with those who were taking chemotherapy, when they observed those in chemotherapy, the experimental Ganoderma group showed statistically significant improvements in the domains of physical well-being and fatigue in the subscale of after intervention. The same patients also reported less anxiety and less depression and a better quality of life. For anyone that knows anyone that's had chemotherapy, they know it is horrible. It just totally degrades your well-being and your life. It's absolutely horrible. So knowing that possibly if you know a loved one that's going through this cancer treatment, they know that you can implement this amazing herb to help them with just how they're feeling. Going into brain health, because we were talking about that, Ganoderma and Parkinson's. So Ganoderma has shown potential neuroprotective effects in clinical trials that has led us to speculate that it might possess anti-inflammatory properties and immune modulating properties. What that means is that it supports your immune system. And again, if you go back to that slide, we were talking about inflammation. We want to reduce our inflammation. And a brain that is inflamed is an unhealthy brain and an unhappy brain. So they investigated the potential neuroprotective effects of Ganoderma, and the underlying mechanism through it, it actually protected the microglial activation. In conclusion, the supports concluded that Ganoderma may be promising to treat against Parkinson's disease through the anti-inflammation mechanism. All right, more information on Parkinson's. It also protects against the neurodegeneration, so the breakdown of neurons, and it can actually restore the function from Parkinson's. So what that means is it can reverse some of the symptoms. All right, insomnia. How many people suffer from insomnia? How many people have real troubles sleeping? I know there have been times when I've definitely had my fair share of sleepless nights, especially when I was doing my prep. So during this trial, 3 days after administration of the Ganoderma, it significantly increased total sleep time, non-rapid eye movement, sleep without influencing slow wave sleep. So it actually induced REM sleep, and that's the type of sleep that we all want to get into. And when you're having that REM sleep, that's when your body is in its most healing state. That's when your body is in its most detoxing state. So we need that, and quite often people are not achieving healthy sleep, and as a result, we're not in a state of proper detox, and our body is not healing the way that it should be. So again, using the Ganoderma, it significantly decreased the sleep latency. It also has a mechanism that converts glutamate into GABA. So glutamate is one of our excitatory hormones. It's a central nervous system hormone. And when we have too much glutamate, our body is too excited. We're in that state of fight or flight. So what's really amazing about Ganoderma, it actually helps convert the glutamate into GABA. Glutamine helps convert GABA or glutamate into GABA. And interestingly enough, the difference between glutamate and GABA, it's actually just one enzyme. So knowing that we want to really reduce our glutamate, increase our GABA, that will help us be relaxed. Okay, talking about toxicity. This is just, I'm going to read this verbatim. According to the recent statistic, and actually I had I was just coming out of a clinical session today with someone, and I was discussing the harmful effects of makeup, and all of the chemicals found in makeup are xenoestrogens, and what those are endocrine disruptors. What they are is all of these toxins, our bodies are they're foreign to our body, first of all, but when we absorb them thinking that they're estrogen. As a result, our body becomes estrogen dominant. We become more inflamed. We actually start to gain fat. Our testosterone goes down for both women and men. Progesterone decreases. We don't want that. So all of these toxins are found to be very, very, very estrogenic. So in this, there's over 84,000 chemicals that we're always exposed to on an annual basis. Strong scientific evidence exists that the exposure to these chemicals is contributing to cancer, reproductive abnormalities, early puberty, loss of many other endocrine and neurological and metabolic problems. 6 billion pounds of BPA, bisphenol, found in plastics, generates an $8 billion profit for the manufacturers. So, you know, manufacturers are making all these products, they're coming in packaging, and we're consuming them. That's why I'm always really trying to make a concerted effort to drink out of glass and use glass. I don't use plastic Tupperware. Everything's out of glass. No spatulas or anything like that. I use wood or stainless steel. Roughly 13,000 chemicals are found in cosmetics, and only 10% have been tested and evaluated by the FDA and other approving bodies. So really, it's toxins are a big thing, and for all you women out there, makeup is a big contributing factor. Like I said, I was just talking to someone who has Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid condition, autoimmune, and a lot of times you can contribute it to metal toxicity. So, and what do women do? They wear makeup. All right, so what is your endocrine? This is